here so far. I'm here to.
He's out of the country.
All right, recording has started. Rolling.
Your spot, I'd like to call the 146 meeting to order. This is the September meeting. Today we have a quorum. We have so far, Dika hasn't made it in, and our president is traveling. First thing on the agenda is invocation and pledges of allegiance. Offer a short prayers at work. You know, are we live?
Plugged in.
Dear Lord God, I'd like to thank you for all of the blessings we have here in the woodlands, our good life and the environment. Do y'all have any other comments that you might add?
Start pledges. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Do we have any comments from the public? We don't have any public here. No public. All right, how about, are there any adjustments, Mike?
I do have one for you. Unfortunately. The only one this month. For any of the districts, it's count number 49-2798-02. They had a leak in their sprinkler system. It caught part of 1 month and then a full month on the next month. Gallons in question, their average is 29,000 gallons. Gallons in question is 289,000, so it's an adjustment of 260,000 gallons. Or a refund to their account or a credit to their account of $1,701.59. They do have a repair invoice from their sprinkler repairman. Somewhere in here, $744. We did make them get a wise guy sprinkler evaluation. Their sprinkler was also programmed for multiple starts, which they have now fixed. And they signed up for Water Smart, which they were not signed up for on August 23rd. So it does meet your requirements for an adjustment, and we are recommending you approve the adjustment in the amount of $1,701.59. Again, it's just an adjustment in wholesale price. They're still paying over $1,000 for this bill. So, a good adjustment, for sure.
Any comments? Do I hear a motion to accept the adjustment?
Make a motion to accept. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, for the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda or the changes needed? Which one?
On the on the regular agenda, the numbers that are indicated in item number 9, page 2. Compared the numbers under the preliminary district forecast versus the actual spreadsheet, both the previous one that was issued last month and the new one that was part of our package for this month. And the numbers vary, and I don't know why. So bringing up the issue specifically, if you look at number 9, third paragraph down, it says your preliminary district forecast for 2024 indicates revenue of 14,789, et cetera. The actual number on the sheet is 15,395,700, a variance of 600,000. Same thing on the expenses, 14 million, almost even, for a net gain of 788, 771, and it's a different number. It's $55,000 off. It's 14,055. I don't understand why it is. I just bringing up that it's a difference that in the reported information.
The final numbers.
These are the numbers were on the last budget that was attached to this month's.
Are we talking about your budget for under my report?
The one that was with our package. Is that the same one?
Yeah, well, there's an agenda item for that in a minute. So
Okay, but my only point is that this is stated as a fact and the numbers I don't believe are correct.
yeah, I'll cover it.
Oh, okay, okay. In that case, we'll wait until Eric's presentation.
So I think what you're saying is that there was a draft of this presented last month, which these minutes reflect, and now there's an updated one for final approval on the agenda. And so you're saying, Eric, that the information on the minutes from last month are accurate as to what was presented in the draft form last.
Well, as luck would have it, I have all 5 versions of it. I'll double check my numbers. We don't have to do it now. We can continue on.
Then we'll pull out item number 5 from the consent agenda and defer on that until we take a look at it. Right, and then I guess we.
How about we'll include it with the budget discussion?
We can. So we need to consider a consent action on 6 through 8.
You want to defer action
On 6 through 8?
No, we need to take action on the, unless folks want to pull out the consent item 6, 7, or 8, we can consider a motion to approve.
I don't wish to remove anything from the consent agenda. I was talking about the regular agenda items.
That's
So not,
Correct. It's not accurate, the final point.
it's accurate to the budget that was presented last
The
week.
draft budget.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's a final budget presented tonight.
right. I have a copy of that.
Yeah, that will
right here.
identify those differences. But those numbers are correct off of the original budget that was. My knowledge is.
Okay,
And I'm prepared to
good.
go over like the deltas.
Oh, good. Thanks. Terrific.
Hey, do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor? Okay. Let's go on to item number 9, review and act on the district's draft fiscal operating budget and recommended water and sewer rate.
Perfect. So, last month I presented the draft budget, and draft memo. And this month, as the process goes, we, have a final, memo, for consideration, as well as a final draft of the budget for consideration for approval tonight. As Fred was noting, there's a couple modifications, and this is pretty common as we kind of fine tune the numbers from the draft to the final. There's a couple things that were modified that are different from the budget that was presented last month. First one, and I'll point your direction to the tan area. That's on the expense side.
And this is on the final budget?
Correct. Correct. So you'll see that part of the difference in the expense side is on engineering technical services, which is the second line item from the top, 5,300.03. We added about $7,000, and that was in to address lead and copper rule revision that we're going to have to deal with this coming year. It's going to be due next fall. So that was 7,000. Then on water distribution, we adjusted that is about $8,000 up from last year, and that was due to some cost increases on materials. Sewer repair is about 10, and that was a carryover for, I believe, for the active project that's going on that was budgeted last year, but we're not expended any funds, and those the funds for those were pushed forward into next year. And then the bigger one was 5,300.14 storm sewer repair. And that actually has about 30,000 add in for the 3A1 that is needing some maintenance on it. And so if you add all those up, that's about $55,000 was the difference between last month, this month on the expense side.
One question on that administrative fee top line, the variance there, which is a positive variance. That's a function of not having two general manager positions. Okay,
Yeah, what I reported last month, which is still the case, is that the admin fee that was 718 is staying at 700. So that has not changed. And is the sitting as what was reported last month.
good.
And then on the water and sewer rates, which go into this, those adjustments are in this. We had estimated a revenue based on about a 5%. It's. Oh, that's what? That's right. That's right. Yours is at about 9% increase on the water rates, and that is included overall in the revenue side of this. And then your proposed tax rate is up there in the yellow box up front, and that was based on what you had posted or advertised last month. So those are all the kind of the numbers that went into this
And you're forecasting a decrease then in revenue.
decrease.
Yeah.
From the,
From 2023 to 2024, it goes from approximately 5.8, 5.867 down to 5.248.
that was projected actual, so we're actually increased from the budget, but down a little bit from the projected actuals. That's correct.
Okay, okay. But the overall variance is about $460,000. Correct? In projected
down.
actual down to the 14. Yeah,
Correct,
okay,
correct,
good.
Correct.
That's good. You've covered the purchase services. The only other question I've got is on, again, page 2 under interest on investments and comparing that to Baird's note. I don't know what the impact of this is, if anything, but on item 5, he included, Adam included the interest earnings of 2% on surplus funds. And down here, it's 5%, which is the actual number for our investments. Is there any impact that going from 5 down to 2 has on our operations at all? This is the Baird.
Our operations budget is projecting a 5%.
Right, and I saw that on
and
there.
that
Everything is
they're-
correct.
They're using 2%. I'm not sure why, but that was their projection.
But it doesn't have any impact on anything we do, does it?
No, that's compartmentalized in debt service.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're just saying, right, they're using a lower number than actual.
Correct.
And so
But having a higher number theoretically should help us.
should help us, right?
Correct. And I would have, normally I would have expected to see that in the budget, but I didn't see that. I'm not making an issue of it. I'm just bringing up that it's a difference,
Yeah,
and it just caught my eye.
20 years reserve in the debt service account, because they show that how much you have remaining in the debt service reserve.
And also it helps coverage,
Correct, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Coverage for future
Yeah.
debt service.
which is not included in our coverage number.
Well, no, in your operating budget.
Not in the operating budget.
Because Your bond covenants have to be
Good.
segregated and kept apart from all operating.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So on the Baird, is Baird here? No. So they gave us a sheet last time.
Yeah.
And
I got that too.
yeah, I got to. So at the end, it went to red.
Correct.
That would indicate what, a deficit?
No,
Does
that,
it indicate?
they mark that anytime you're getting down, under 30%.
Okay, that was
because-
a flag for 30%.
Correct, because that's something that if you were to issue additional bonds, that the TCEQ and the bond community would take a look at.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just standard
That's
in
the
all
standard,
their,
okay.
yeah.
And
all their-
and just to make a note, last time, this time we end the bond series. We pay back all the debt. We had 829,000 in the account.
Mhm.
So last time we had 11. So we don't need to deal with it this time, but as we grow that number,
Yeah.
As we grow that number, we can,
What'll happen is you'll
You
lower,
lower
they
the rate,
have a
right,
flat
they have
projection
flat
going out.
projection.
So you'll just
drill
you'll
that down to
drill
zero,
that
to
down,
zero. Yeah.
right, to where at the end.
But this is something we don't have to deal with this year, but next year.
No,
it'll get well more.
it's important to us.
Right, it's
It's a big number. It's getting to be a big number.
big and big now.
Yeah.
It used to be a zero, several, where he's got that line drawn across. Below that line, it was always zero.
That's why we need people who got the experience, because we don't know that. We're too
No,
new.
we're making progress.
Yes, we are.
So if there, we would need a motion for approval of the budget.
I'll make the motion to approve the budget.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next thing, item number 10, we need to adjourn to a public hearing. And
I'm
Brian,
sorry, before we move on item number 9, second to the last item, we talked about last year, a 5-year CIP. When do you think that would be provided?
Probably after the first of the year.
So February, March? Okay. Thank you.
all ready to go on to next item.
Sorry, yes.
No problem. We'll adjourn to a public hearing, and Brian, do you want to take over?
Yep, so, Fred, you and Dave are still a little newer at this, but to recap, two-step process to adopt your tax rate. You handled the first step last month, which was to authorize publication of notice in the Courier of the district's intent to levy a not to exceed tax rate. That rate was 0.187287. A copy of the notice that was published in the Courier is included in your packet on page number 13. Since that first step has been completed, we can now move on to the second step, which is on your agenda as item 10, to adjourn the regular meeting and open the public hearing for any comments from the public regarding the district's proposed 2023 tax rate.
Nobody from the public's here.
No comments from the public, then you can close the public hearing.
That's all it takes.
Yep.
Okay, we'll adjourn the public hearing. Do we need to have a motion?
We need to reconvene. No, we'll, presiding officer, you'll close the public hearing and we'll reconvene in open session
Okay,
and move on to number 9. I'm sorry.
number
11.
11.
Number 11, consider enacting the levy of the tax rate. So as I mentioned, the combined tax rate is 0.187287. That is comprised of 16 cents for debt service and 0.027287 for maintenance and operations. That maintenance and operations tax is very precise because it is the voter approval tax rate, which is the rate that would generate 3.5% of additional revenue over the average resident homestead. So you, as a developed district, we went into that at length in the last few meetings. As a developed district, if you go over the 3.5, you're obligated to hold an election. Since you're right at the voter approval rate, you are not required to conduct.
This is based on the August 11th of this year report by Melissa Henning Consulting. Is that correct?
No, that's for water and sewer rates. He's talking about your tax rate.
Sorry. Okay.
But your budget was.
Built on that.
Yeah.
Yes, because I did see,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a recommendation from mayor.
Got it. Okay, good.
All right, so that's your tax rate, and we do need a motion to adopt the order formally levying your debt service and maintenance tax for 2023.
I'll do that.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries just fine. Thank you. We'll move on to item 12, approval and execution of the amended district information form.
Yes, that is the document that we talked about last month. We amended that last month to update the language and notice to purchasers that changed in the legislative session. We talked last month about how it was a little redundant, but that we had to put it back on the agenda again this month because we had to approve another amendment to take into account your 23 tax rate. Now that we've adopted our 23 tax rate, we need to adopt another amendment to that district information form to incorporate your 23 tax rate.
Do you have a copy for everybody?
No,
Signature.
it's the exact same, like I said, it's exact same as what was presented on the Google Drive last month for your district information form. The only thing changing is the tax.
Okay.
Who has to sign? We all have
Any
to
three
sign?
directors,
Any three?
yes.
I'll do one. Do the president. one.
Yeah.
There's more than one.
I'll do it after the meeting,
Yeah, that's fine.
unless you want to do it now.
It's not getting to me. She's number 3.
You can be number 3.
No, I please defer to the lady.
Okay.
We don't need any
Any action
action.
on that? We do need a motion on that.
Okay. I'll make the motion. Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Deidre's in favor because she's signing it off.
Thank y'all very much.
Number 13, receive regular monthly SJRA Woodlands Division report.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
The only item on the Woodlands Division report is a reminder, October 24th, between 5 and I think it's 7 PM at our Woodlands Division office, the next all-night meeting related to the wastewater strategic plan. So October 24th, 5 to 7 at our Woodlands office. Next month, MUD meetings, we'll put out a reminder as well. But if you want to check calendars and see what's going on, good time to do so.
What time was that again?
5 to about 7.
7.
Yeah. That's all we had, unless you had any questions on Woodland stuff.
Okay, let's go on to 14. Consider an act on additional research by San Jacinto River Authority for AC water lines.
All right, so there is no formal action on this item, so no motion is needed. This is we're gonna be asking for a consensus or a straw poll on the vote. So I'm gonna direct you to page 34. As you know, over the last few months, there's been a lot of conversations about AC water lines from a lot of various people on the River Authority side as well as yourselves. And so last week at the trustees meeting, Ed and Connie made a lot of comments and discussions related to AC water lines, the path forward, research done, so on and so forth. That is the summary of that is included on page 34. What I'm going to offer tonight is just a high level overview and some highlights and then open it up for conversation. So through all the conversations we've had, through all the research provided, and we've come back and recommended, excuse me, like back up. Through all the information that we've had and we've looked at and opinions that we've heard, what we're proposing is to pause the AC water lines. Now, what I mean by that is to pause any construction at this time and any further design of the AC water lines. So we'll finish town center, we'll finish getting permanent easements for town center, but at this time, we will not move forward with the other projects related to town center AC water line replacement. Okay. What we are proposing, based on the feedback we've received, is to move forward with a AC water line condition assessment program. So the consensus that we're looking for is, does MUD 46 want to move forward with a condition-based testing assessment? Or is there other options that y'all would like to pursue? The reason we're looking for the consensus is we want to make sure that the MUDs are in favor with moving forward with it, because Connie and her team will need to move forward issuing a request for qualifications. And so we don't want to start heading down a path if the MUDs want to go in a different direction. So once we get the general consensus, we'll move forward. There's no money tied to it at this point. At a date in the future, once we get some more better budgetary estimates and timelines and stuff, we'll bring that back to you. Possibly as a budgetary amendment, or it could be in the FY25 budget, just depending on time. So very high level overview. Connie and Dan put a lot of information onto the Google Drive. A lot of good questions were asked, a lot of great answers were given, a lot of good documents to research that is on the Google Drive. One other brief thing is this in this bag up here is a piece of 16-inch AC water line. Brought it just in case any mud director has not seen AC water line and just want to see what we're talking about. Brought a piece of it from a water main break that occurred on Friday. A lot of information, very high level, kind of summarized everything that, y'all been chatting about for a few months, but Connie and I are here for any questions y'all may have.
How old is that piece of pipe?
That pipe, Dan was saying it's late 70s, so probably 77, 78 time frame. But
About a 40-year-old pipe.
and the reason for the break was actually ground with, there was no bedding. It was basically embedded in clay, and there was a circular crack around the middle of the pipe. So you could tell it was kind of jarring.
Now, there's going to be a course offered later this year, or maybe it's first of next year, about condition assessment.
Right.
And I understand that Eric is going, and I think Dave, you're going to.
Want to go? That kind of jumps the agenda. Do you want to?
I'm sorry, I just was going on condition assessment.
I have some handouts.
Where's it? 19 is what you're talking about?
Yeah, 19. Yeah.
And that is put on, Fred, if I remember, by AWWA. Yes, it's in Fort Worth, I think November.
Dallas, now it's November 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Because Dan will also be attending for the River Authority. I don't believe there's anybody else.
No.
He's got us, so.
So a couple of questions. You said there was a break of the AC pipe. Is that noted on the water loss report?
No, that water loss is actually about a month behind.
Okay, so this, it would be, we would expect it next month, the water loss report. And where was it?
It was on,
So no bid.
in Timber Wild. No, I'm
And,
9 months in and I can't remember the name.
and, and you took pictures of the excavation, like everything that you'd all talked about, like planning out, like tracking the amount that it cost you to replace it and all that stuff.
Yes, ma'am. At this time, we've actually collected a good about 10-foot piece of the pipe, including one joint. It did go under a roadway, so we were not going to tear up the road to get both joints out. But we have about a 10-foot piece that we've created and stored in a cool, dark place, per recommendations from consultants. We set it to the side right now because we don't know really what we want to test for. We don't send it off for what we think and then forget a few things. But we did take a lot of pictures. The only thing we did not take was a soil sample from the actual bedding. That's one thing that we did not get. But we did take about, answered about 30 different questions. Excuse me.
And then for confirmation, the Lake Robbins line that we've been talking about in town center that broke and caused a lot of issues with the commercial developments, that was not actually AC.
That was PVC.
Okay, so that was PVC.
Correct.
Okay,
And at the trustees meeting, Ed, and it is noted on page 34, Ed did note that it was a misrepresentation or misunderstanding, I guess.
was that just because the information in your GIS system was just different or?
Just misspoke.
Okay.
It's been 2 years.
Yeah,
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to have a clarification because that can come up at every AC discussion. So thank you for clarifying. My next ask would be, I would suggest that you write down what the goals are of your RFQ and your understanding of what the MUDs are asking prior to maybe putting out the RFQ necessarily, so that we have a clear understanding and then you have a clear understanding and we can kind of go over it and look at it and say, yes, this is what we are agreeing to versus just the remembering of what you'd said and maybe it's not added and that was something we were really interested in and so kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, Connie's here and I'm sure that's part of what they do put in the project management plan as well. But that's also the reason we're asking for the general consensus is if there's anything y'all want to see additional that the rest of the MUDs want to see as well. Some have talked about go ahead and replacing 6 pines at this point, that small strip of land or pipe. And so some have said yes, some have said no. So
What, so the small strip of pipe and 6 pines, how long is it? What size is it? Is this the one that we were going to upsize?
correct. I can send around a map that Brian, if you could pass this around. Dan earlier today said it's just under a mile. It's currently 12-inch AC going up to 16-inch AC for HTTE. What was the estimate cost on that?
Stop right on.
Now, the one item with that pipeline is, just for consistency of telling the other modes as well, that pipeline was actually manufactured in Mexico. It's the only pipe that we've replaced in the Woodlands that we know was made out of the country. Everything else, and the reason that's important is the outside diameter of that pipe on Six Pines is different from the rest of the pipe in the Woodlands.
Metric,
Uh,
metric ton.
I do not know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Just not standard.
it's not standard at all. So a 12-inch pipe on, let's just say standard AC is 12 inches, give or take. On this pipe, it's closer to 13-inch. And so I just bring that up because it is a different specification. And if you do test that pipe, it may be apples to oranges, or it could be very useful information. It's just, I want you to have the information.
So it's just this, is it just the Timberlock, Six Pines Timberlock to Woodlands Parkway?
To North Milton.
To
From
North
North
Milton.
Milton through Woodlands Parkway to Timberlock.
Oh, okay.
When
All
you
the way
get
to
further north.
Milton. Okay.
BBC.
Okay, so that, and I don't know if I've ever received it, but if you have a report on your hydraulic model that will provide information on the upsizing of the lines and any additional facilities or facility placement. So it's generated from some data and the water model. And I guess my question is the upsizing due to redevelopment in the area? Okay.
Operational pressures and flow. It has nothing to do with capacity.
Okay, so the water model would show that and your water model report would show that.
Right, I don't know if you want to add anything.
I'm not sure it's in a report that clearly stated that way, but we can look at what we've got to try and get you the information.
Okay,
Could you just develop like a business case for this and share it with everybody?
Yeah,
I'd like to see, a formal, document that details this out
The
in writing.
the enlarging,
Yeah, the enlarging the Six Pines project. And I've heard 2 to 3 million, is that ballpark?
About 3 million is
About
what,
3 million.
there's an OPC included on the Google Drive for the Six Pines piece broken out. So it's got a 15% contingency, I think. And so given the fact that it's a much smaller project, I probably would pop that up to 20%, which would put you closer to 3 million. I think it's like 2.6 or something on there.
That way we can vote on it.
yeah,
If we have a document that
and
justifies.
yeah, I like that. So how is all the monetary stuff divided out? Like if like how much do we have
it's in water rates.
to moderate?
So any increase, any infrastructure replacements, stuff like that, repairs, it's all interfaced in the rates. So if there's like, you did a $20 million bond, the debt service would be paid for via water rates.
So you're saying we would have to do a bond?
No.
Okay,
They would say it's on, you'd pay back in water rates.
oh, yeah,
So for
I
the
just want to be
2.6
very, very clear. We would have to sell, we don't have like the money, right? Like we don't have it in our rate. We don't have a bond to pay
They
for
would
this.
raise their rates to pay the cost of the
Right,
bond.
so if it's a bond or it's a cash, whatever it may be used, R&R funded, it would be in the rates.
It'd be the same as what we did in 2016, 2017. We had bond finance. Yeah, but just by way of analogy, it's the same, it'd be the same setup where when those bonds were approved by supplemental agreement, the MUDs and the River Authority. River Authority issued those bonds backed by wholesale water and sewer revenues. And so a component of your wholesale rate for sewer and water is to pay the debt service on those bonds. So you would adjust your retail rates accordingly, but there would be no bond issue by an individual MUD.
And that's fine. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
overall way of just getting the bonds issued and paying for the projects. I guess what I would like to know is bottom line, like how is that going to affect our rate? And how much of it we're paying to agree to anything? Because I mean, it does come down to how much money it costs and how much how much effect it's going to have on the rates to all of us that pay for it.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all put together a rate model, because these smaller components, y'all were looking at more global scale.
Right.
aren't you? Yeah.
Right.
Prior to issuing or requesting any bond, we do bring those financials to you, even at the wastewater strategic plan level on a high level. We said, if you issued a bond for this, this is what the rates could look like. So if we get to that point, months ahead of schedule, you guys will have the projected rates, interest rate, debt scheme, benefit schedule.
And how it affects each individual mud.
Well, it will
Well-
affect each mud the same, because the wholesale rates are
Wholesale rate goes
uniform
up.
for all the muds.
So usage, capacity, infrastructure has no weighting at all. It's merely divided by the number of muds.
No, it's just. the
Per 1,000
wholesale
gallons.
per
I'm sorry,
thousand.
what was that?
It's per
4,000 gallons, per 1,000 gallons.
1,000 gallons.
So unlike in the past where we got a bond allocation, right,
Correct.
for our share. Now it's going into rates. So basically your mud pays depending upon how many thousand gallons it buys. And that's the change.
Based on use, yeah.
Based on
Because
usage.
the
Old model was
the old model was for new capacity.
SFDUs.
This
This is existing capacity.
Existing capacity is being rehab, placed. et cetera.
But the question that you don't have answered yet is you got Six Pines and you got the costing models. You're looking at so many millions of dollars, and the question you have is whether you have the money in your budget, whether it's R&R or whether you have to do a bond. So you still have to noodle through that
Right.
to determine what.
So there is an answer to, on the questions on the Google Drive. It's question 24. It was a question about the rate impact of the 3.5 million for the program over a 4-year period. And we answered it kind of in the context of that $25 million bond that we've been talking about. So that answer is there. That's the rate model that we had run. So that answer is there, but it's not broken out into the pieces of if we were to do 6 Pines alone. So 6 Pines alone is, $3 million. It's not a bond.
So what is the 25 million impact? What is that?
That's the mall. Metro, I mean, not mall,
Town center.
town center. That was the whole town center.
Right, so I'll just read this. Assuming the 3.5 million was part of a $25 million bond, for a 30-year bond, the rate impact would be 20 cents in 2026, an additional 15 cents in 2027, for a total impact of 35 cents. For a 25-year bond, the rate impact would be 23 cents in 2026, an additional 15 in 2027, for a total impact of 38 cents. So 35 versus 38 for a 30 or a 25-year bond. So 3 cents difference.
If we're finished with that conversation, I have a related question to you, Chris, if you know it. I'm under the impression that with some of the settlements in the litigation that's taken place with the SJRA, that there is a fund of money. I'm not going to call it windfall, but there's a bucket of money in the millions of dollars. And there hasn't been any disposition yet on how it's going to be utilized. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are there any restriction? Well, first of all, how much money do you believe is approximately involved in it?
It's actually not in here.
Just a ballpark. No, I'm not going to hold you to it. Just, I'm like,
17, 18 million.
I heard it was a bit under 20, so that it's consistent with what I heard. Okay. That's fairly substantial. Can that money be utilized for other activities, other infrastructure building, or is it looked at to be given back to the different muds based on usage? What's the current thinking with the SJRA right now?
Okay, so first thing is, it's GRP's money, has to stay in GRP.
Okay,
I can't use.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Right, so it's GRP, has to stay up there, can't bring it down here. That'd be ideal for a lot of stuff we're talking about, but can't be done. The second item about what's gonna happen with the funds, senior management is currently talking about that to see what's the best course of action, what the best bang for the buck, if you will, for the ratepayer at the end of the day. So there's a lot of options that are on the table. But the other part of this too is our audit is currently going to be underway in about a month to end out FY23. So we don't want to go ahead and take action on 17 million and then have another 2 or 3 million from the drought show up.
Absolutely.
So they're going to wait till about December, January, from what I understand, to get that audit to actually start doing some good discussions. So a few more months, it's not being spent right now. It's just sitting in an interest-bearing account.
But there is a way to move it back to the Woodlands division by just lowering the rate.
There is potential to do a refund.
refund.
Now, if you do the refund, it goes back to the utility, so go from GRP to Woodlands, and Woodlands will have to take it to Woodlands Water, then you ought to have to, and so on and so forth. There is a potential to basically, lower the rate, maybe pay off some bonds, or, instead of putting some money in the budget, just use that as nest egg. But one of the things is, you don't want to lower the rate now, and then in a couple of years, use your savings.
I'm full agree. I had a conversation with Ed on that exact subject. Yeah, because I think it would be incorrect for us to lower the rate, and I'll put it in quotes, substantially, only to have it go up in 2 or 3 years. It'll cause even more craziness than what's going on right now. And that's when people aren't informed. Imagine if they are informed that there's a bucket of $18 million. You don't want that. So the question is, what is a fair and equitable distribution of those funds? And I would add to that, in light of the fact that the MUDs have incurred legal expenses and other expenses associated with the litigation that's involved. And I don't know how that's going to be discussed, but I think it should be, and I think it should be in an all MUD meeting, in my opinion.
I'll pass it along, and of course, Connie heard it pass along to it as well.
Appreciate it.
So there's actually been 3 pots of money. Right, the first was from the drought last year, which was 12 million. You use that to fill your reserves, right?
Yeah.
And then the litigation, Quad Best and whoever else,
Right, about 11, 12 million.
12 million there. Then we have this drought.
Right.
Which could be money.
It could
Month
be
longer
potentially.
than last year, but I'm just doing,
Right.
So
So, and that's why I want to see all the money.
you can see all the money, how it goes.
Yeah, one time you get it out there.
Oh, yeah, it's smart to wait to the end of the calendar year, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But the drought, the additional use of groundwater and all that all flows directly into GRP.
Correct.
So all this funding is in GRP.
Now, the Woodlands has experienced additional revenue as well. I think July was about $2 million over.
Woodlands the big.
Correct. I don't know August because the books were just closed late last week, so I haven't seen anything. So if I can circle back on the AC waterline condition assessment, general consensus is what from MUD 46? Move forward with condition assessment or do not?
I guess I'm still a little confused with what that entails, like monetarily, like I understand like issuing the RFQ and all that, but like what the program will entail, like what it'll, I know that you're trying to get the RFQ to find out, like have somebody help plan or program this evaluation process, but I guess I'm just like, y'all have done a bunch of research, so you should have some idea because you're gonna have to prepare the RFQ to ask engineers what to do.
We do have a general idea, but the thing is, we're not experts, as Connie has said before. We want to get with the experts and say, these are the things we're thinking, what are we missing? How do we make this fully comprehensive?
And I completely get that, but like right now, it's just, are you agreeable to a condition-based assessment of the AC lines? And that high level, like, is that the ask?
It is. Now, let me back up and say something. I've said this 9 times and I probably forgot this time. We're not asking for any money. We currently have no money in the budget. We have no money in FY 25's budget. So there is no monetary ask at this point. We just want to issue the RFQ, get it on the street and start having some of those conversations exist. Once we get a better picture of the stuff you're asking for, then we're going to be coming back and saying, okay, we have a better picture of this. We know what you're looking for. This is what we're looking for. And it's, $2 million in 2 years, and then ask for approval for like a budget amendment or just put it in the FY 25 budget. So this is merely just a guiding consensus, just trying to tell us, I want to go this way or I want to go that way.
Okay, and so I guess I just circle back to having a documented level of understanding of this is what we understand the MUDs are asking, and then we can just check off and say, yeah, or no, we don't want that. And so then that would give me an idea of saying, yeah, I like that part of the program, but I don't like this part. I don't know, because I don't know what that'll look like.
I agree. You got to see the documents
Yeah.
go from there. I think it's part of the process of, going through this together. But I mean, to start that, we do need the general direction of, yes, the condition-based assessment in its high view is the way we want to go.
So based on no cost, the decision you're looking for this board is, are you supportive of going to the next step with a condition-based assessment?
Exactly. This is why it's not.
That's your-
Yeah, that's fine.
Idea, council.
Yeah, and the answer from my perspective is yes. I don't know how the other board members feel.
I watched the trustees meeting, the video of the trustees meeting, and up there they were talking about a $3 million estimated cost. And it would be spent over 3 or 4 years.
I said, I saw that, but that's pre-assuming that we're going to that next step.
But the estimate, I looked at it as it's better than a grab at the wind estimate, but there's a cost estimated to be $3 million. And it won't be refined
If they follow
until.
through with Deidre's direction, which I'm supportive of, then the number will come out of that.
That is $3.5
That's where I'm
million,
going.
which is Connie had presented last month, and I believe the
Right.
month before, is the estimate $3.5 million in 4 years. Is the estimate that they received from various consultants that they spoke to. So it is a very high level, but it's not tied to anything. It's just parameters.
So if you go back to their AC plan.
Right.
The 10-year CIP plan, their desires through that plan was to spend 18 million a year. Right, to replace the AC pipe over 10 years. So what we're saying is that, if the effective will based on AWWA, then we're deferring, $180 million out X number of years. So I think, I understand what Dietrich's saying. I'd like to see, a sheet that detailed all this.
Formal statement of what's going to be
Full statement.
Yeah,
I
delivered.
understand that, just like me, I'm learning. I read these things and I can't price it. I think you have to figure out how to price it and do it. And then there'll be other opportunities that you'll come back and tell us things that you've learned. And I'm kind of okay with that process because they're not asking to spend any money. They're asking a direction of,
Correct.
And
And we're accumulating information to report back to us.
This is basically the direction you asked for.
right, that's right.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, yes.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
You got the approval.
How is this gonna tie into our AC lines that are small diameter? Any tie-in possibility?
We're gonna need to know what that program is gonna look like,
Mhm.
because I'd like to most likely mirror it once we get to that point. What we have in the budget for next year right now is I put $100,000 across all the months, not each, separated, prorated across months. Just as really a line item that whenever the answer from the consultant comes out, that here's what you need to be doing, here's how much pipe you need, here's what we're gonna test on it, and here's the spreadsheet that we're gonna put it in. Once we have all that information, then we can start rolling. In the meantime, but what we're doing is if we have a break on one of our smaller diameter lines or our lines, we're gonna take we've talked about 3 to 5 foot section of it, bag it, tag it, and put it at the field office until all of this comes about, and then send it off for testing. That point.
And you're involved in the coordination or the discussion, or have some review of the documents that the SGRA will,
I would expect we would.
okay.
Yeah.
We always try to keep Woodland Water involved on things that pertain to everybody. Sometimes things they don't need to be involved in, just to coordinate.
And just to clarify one last point, no action will be taken on this, this reserve fund, we'll call it, okay? Until all of the MUDs vote on it or give you input into it, or how's that going to work process wise?
Reserve fund being GRPs already? No, that goes through senior management, our board of directors, and maybe the GRP review committee. It'll be discussed with the MUDs, but the MUDs have no action. Well, let me take
Well,
that back.
we have no authority over that.
You don't, but you do to a certain degree. So Mike is a GRP representative, a review committee representative, so he does have a vote on the review committee. So your voice is heard through Mike. So if something goes to them to vote, he would be the one to vote on your behalf.
Good, thank you.
Okay, are we done? Okay, Chris, do you want to do the next one? Receive update on Bear Branch?
That's right.
Really short. You can refer to page 22 in the packet. It's a brief update, but I think a positive update. LJA has completed their draft alternatives analysis for the, the objective of reducing water surface elevation under major storms along Research Forest in the vicinity of the high school. We currently have that in hand. Woodlands Water has it in hand. We're reviewing it. We're providing comments back to LJA. We'll meet again in October and we'll hear their responses to our comments. We'll discuss those. And through our last progress meeting last Tuesday, we did ask for some minor amount of additional modeling, which is basically just to have a apples to apples comparison. A lot of the modeling that they're doing now is based on Atlas 14 rainfall. And so we want to see what would these proposed improvements have done to, how can we look at what really happened back when it happened under those rainfall conditions with these proposed changes, so are these proposed improvements. And so that's a little bit of extra modeling that we've asked them to do. But thus far, I guess the positive to state is that yes, those proposed improvements show a positive impact. They lower the water surface elevation. The details of just exactly how much, I don't have those numbers in front of me today. We will be coming back to you probably in the October, November timeframe and give you a full briefing on the report and the results of the report. And so at that time, we'll have a lot more detailed information for you. Questions?
The questions I have are detailed.
Okay, all right, yeah,
I want to get down to, what are the results?
yeah. Well, I think in the October, November timeframe, yeah.
You made comments on the report. I mean, do you want to see the report and the comments that they made?
That'd be interesting.
We can do that. I mean, that's something we can do, like, as we make comments back to LJA on their report. Sure. Okay.
But you can share the report, right? Do we have the report?
Draft report.
Not right now.
It's okay. I can wait till next month.
It needs.
It's coming.
Okay.
While I have you, have the opportunity to stand in front of you, I want to share something at the Bear Branch Dam. As you know, you guys have helped pay for some cameras and you helped pay for that vault box that you see there. And all this is a reminder that we continue to fight trespass and we continue to fight vandalism at Bear Branch. That's a brand new vault, and you can see where they tried to pry it open. They weren't successful. The lock held, but you can see they bent the edges of it. It looks like they shot some fireworks off. That didn't really hurt anything. It's just an indication of what they do. The one thing we're taking from this is we're gonna engage law enforcement. We've already engaged the game wardens, and they're gonna make more regular visits to the Bear Branch Dam, and we're also going to engage the sheriff's department.
Well, that means I kind of feel like this is like a community problem. This is happening within the community with probably residents of the community just because of the population.
Yeah.
And so why are we not, I don't know, reaching out to the township and just saying, hey, can we make a public service announcement or something as to the continuous vandalization of these areas?
That's a good point. I mean, I do know that Ed is keeping the township abreast of this issue.
I mean, knowing about it is one thing, but actually saying, hey, this is a problem in our community and they could get hurt. I mean,
Public announcement, where would be a logical place for that to come from the township?
It would be if it's community-wide, comes from the township.
That's definitely something we'll talk to.
We have a meeting with the township tomorrow afternoon, and we can talk then.
We're getting complaints by our constituents about cost of water and sewerage. These are examples of action that they can take in policing their own families, neighbors, and community. And, I know that as a MUD, we have the authority to establish our own police department. I read that in one of the forums. I'm not advocating that, but certainly a pack of dogs could help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm serious. I mean, we have to take a very aggressive position with these folks.
Well, as you know, we installed some cameras. That's already lending, some beneficial information.
I'm not
I think
in
it's-
favor of trail cameras. I just don't believe that works.
I'll bring you some pictures. They're not the greatest, but they do lend some information. But engaging law enforcement, if we can set a few examples, I think that'll go.
Absolutely.
Along with
And
making everybody
also,
aware that this is what's gonna happen.
right, and also promote it at the high schools. Let them know what we're doing and the principals, so they can discuss it with the students in an all-student body meeting.
As Chris said, we'll certainly visit.
Yeah,
Do we have any signs up saying any like, what do the signs say? Like, is there a fine associated with it? Is there a,
I don't want to speak out of turn, so I don't know. I do know it's no trespassing. We don't have anything up. The question has been asked before, you're under surveillance or something like that? And that's a double-edged sword. We don't. And one of the reasons we don't is because in the past, we've had them vandalized because they start looking for them. Where are they? We'll shoot them with a BB gun.
Well, I guess what I'm saying though is if I litter and then somebody reports me and I get in trouble for littering, there's a fine associated with it. Is there a fine associated with this? Like if found to vandalize, it's $1,000
It's a
fine.
criminal penalty, so
Yeah.
depending on how criminal misdemeanor it is, and you press charges, then, well, it would be river authorities, their property, then press charges on trespass.
And I don't know if you all remember or if we even briefed you on it, but last year sometime, there was a young man that was arrested. I think it's, doesn't the township have park rangers? Go ahead.
They have law enforcement, supplemental law enforcement, so I think that's part of the dovetailing of the conversation with the township and the yes public announcement, but also to get support from the township on the direction of those supplemental law enforcement officers that are paid for by the township.
Okay.
When that happened, they released the person because they couldn't find anyone from the river authority. So I would just make sure that the river authority has your emergency contact information. So when these things happen and they have to book them and there's no complaint, they let them go. That's what happened last time.
Yeah, a few of those things happen, and the word get out pretty quick, I think, but we hear all of your advice.
And I guess the other thing I would add is, can we put something in Community Impact Magazine? And we can say, this is what's been happening, and if found guilty of this could happen, blah, blah, blah. Cause I know, like, if I was a kid, I'd be, oh no, did they catch me? Like, be scared. I wouldn't do that.
We can take it to public communications and see what avenues they think would be best to get the word out. So we'll
But
do that.
if a kid
Yeah.
can think, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble, that may be a deterrent.
I already have a brief community impact.
Oh, right. Can I make a suggestion
Keep
that we
that
keep
results.
going?
Yes, sir.
Are you doing the next item on spring?
There's no update on number 16.
Okay. We'll go to Brian, attorney report.
No legal officer report today.
General manager. All right, just a couple quick things. Wanted to report that Jim's last day was last Thursday, so he's not here. WWE any longer. We will be planning to do a reception for him, probably an after hours thing in the next month or so. More logistics and more to come on that once we get the date set. Wanted to point you to the packet. There's a number of things in the packet. Additionally, you'll probably been seeing in the news and other places, a lot of discussion about increased drought restrictions across many municipalities in the area. I've talked to other colleagues and they're all in heavier drought contingency restrictions. I'm happy to report that the Woodlands has not had to go into heavier drought restrictions, nor do I think we will need to with the lower temperatures and little rain coming. So we look to be in pretty good shape on that. You also see there's several municipalities in the news contemplating water and sewer rates, as you have as well. So that's a lot of folks are doing that. I also wanted to point out a handful of thank yous that we continue to get from customers, appreciating the interaction with our staff. I really see that as pretty important when it takes a lot for an individual to go to the next level to actually find the email necessary to go send out to us, a a thank you. And so I don't take those lightly, and I like to share them with you all. And then lastly, I wanted to kick it over to John just to give an update on the public outreach that we are doing.
Evening.
So, John.
Hi. Page 29 is the communication report in the packet. So this month I wanted to bring forward some reports of what we've been hearing, seeing in the communities, as far as what folks are talking about. And not surprisingly, much of that falls around drought and higher water bills. Right? The drought comes from more consumption as we put most of our water on the landscape. Bills go up, folks start to scrutinize their bills more, and questions and concerns come from that. Is there's a lot of confusion out there. Folks aren't sure about who their provider is. We get confused with other providers, their rate structure and policy and so forth. So we really work to get clear information out there and help folks understand again how the billing occurs, who the provider is, and give them tools to keep their bills low. And continuing to give as much information as we can out about the defined irrigation schedule. That's a major tool for conservation. And reminding folks continually that that is in place at all times. It has been for the past 10 years. It's not drought related. And the reasons for it, the important reasons that we have that defined irrigation schedule. The website continues to perform well. I did give you a breakdown on where folks are going when they get in that. In the website, we're seeing an uptick in folks using our educational resources and services and information there. So that's encouraging. We do have a new brand for our weekly e-blast. It's Woodlands Water Weekly now. That was voted on from 100 some entries for a new name. On that one was chosen by popular vote. So give us a new brand. And you'll see in there some sample posts as well as on the following page with our digital print media that highlights value. So that is our new focus to plan focus for the quarter. Hopefully folks appreciate the reliability, the quality that they enjoy in our system. Woodlands Community Magazine, watch for an article on the GRP coming out in October. That's issued first of the month. So we'll have that, and then in November we'll have an article out on helping folks to understand their water bill. Super line items mean and how we arrive at their charges. On the following page, page 32, Water Smart. I mentioned that is, again, is such an important tool for us, for customers to understand their water use and keep their bills low. So we continue to push that on multiple fronts. Right now, 10% of all Woodlands water accounts are actively using Water Smart. 34% are registered, but about 10% are actively on it, meaning they've engaged with it in the last 90 days. So lots of room to grow there. Even more room to grow on the commercial side. 19% of our commercial accounts are registered with Water Smart. So a major point of emphasis for us and will be for a long time. Infrastructure communications consultant. So Holloway was secured as our consultant. Eric and SGRA and Holloway will meet next week for the first time, and then we'll start the strategic planning. So we'll keep those updates coming to you as we progress through that process on our infrastructure renewal program. And then finally, there is an updated outreach events calendar. We invite you to come and hang out with us. Come join us at an event, spend a little time at the booth, and it's a great way to hear from residents, to dispense information and to gain information from the community. Any questions?
I would probably add, I think it'd be beneficial if you went to the recycling event, because all the villages are represented at the recycling event.
The 3-hour bazaar.
Yes.
So they went to a drive-through format several years ago. So it's not a festival booth format.
Are they still going to be drive-through?
So at the high school.
Okay.
So that's the fall one. They have an Earth Day green up event in the spring that's litter. It's not really recycling.
Well, the reason why I'm suggesting that is because I think you should do a contest of which village can get as many users to sign up for Water Smart.
Great idea.
And have that competition, because I know the recycling event, it was like a big competition on which village could get more stuff recycled.
Right.
And, I found that kind of fun, and so I thought maybe you should do a competition or a contest.
Leveraging the village associations.
And then coordinate with the village associations, and they can spread the word at their events.
Right.
And I see you've got booths at some of them, so that can also be an opportunity, like, sign up for Water Smart here. You have a QR code, right, to sign up?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's really easy.
It was interesting to watch at the recycling event where the people were bringing batteries to be recycled. And some of the village associations set up collection points at the schools. I mean, they got into it really big. Sterling Ridge didn't do that, we just had a few people show up, but
Grogan's Mill breaks in a lot.
Yeah,
Through
Grogan's
the,
Mill did.
farmers market.
They have it down.
Yeah,
that's what you need.
and we do coordinate with the township a lot through our programming. That might be another opportunity.
Yeah, I
or to
think
mirror that type of
contests would be
program.
kind of fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like contests. I like winning.
I wanted to give a thanks to Fred for identifying some information that he was seeing on social networking that he passed along to us. John mentioned this. He's mentioned this a number of times over the last few months. We really needed feedback from y'all because a lot of the content we push out is in response to the misinformation that we hear in the public. So the more information that you hear and can convey to us, the better we can formulate our messaging back out. And so I wanted to say thanks for sending us that information.
Yeah, always appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Helpful.
So part of that conversation was high water bills and who's GRP, what is this? Well, he just mentioned that's one of our pieces we're about to come out with coming up. So it's a perfect example of kind of how the information stream helps.
Eric, on your general manager report, I have a question on the sanitary sewer evaluation and manhole inspections. How is that tied into what's it called? Star? Is that the same thing with the manhole inspections that this Jerry did through their?
The STAR program we did in prior to the manhole stuff that y'all are doing now. And so if I'm not mistaken, it's the same consultant we did on our side. We did our study to help identify across the system where there may be issues. We passed that to Wilderness Water, and then y'all embarked where you are now.
Okay, so these are different manholes, or are these just looking at other?
These are mud manholes, not the river bars.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I clarified.
And you're plugging those holes, right?
Look at the holes on the ones that are subject to inundation.
Oh, okay.
The lower, yeah. The one on top of the hill, we're not.
Might have to follow it, okay.
But we did put money in the budget this year to address those. It's about 100 or so.
Yeah. We're not
Those are
plugging
the
in
lowest.
the holes, we're putting the inflow protectors in.
Yeah.
But in a year from now, we'd be able to see how that reflects the sewer.
Yeah.
Plant.
Perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah.
So the program UCMR 5 is Med 46. I didn't see 46. Are we getting tested? Samples?
You're getting tested, I think, in 2025.
Oh, okay.
You're a ways off.
Okay, that might be good to add so that we're not, I'm gonna ask every month because I forget.
Don't quote me on that, I'll have to look, but.
That's fine.
You're not being tested this year.
All
Oh,
the,
I thought you meant you're not gonna give me the test this year.
No,
Teacher, remember when we're gonna
No.
be testing.
It's
Okay.
hard to remember because they're all on a different testing schedule.
Okay.
But your Med 46 is not being tested in 2023.
And so I did notice the uptick. I think it's an uptick. So maybe it's just like my brain. But I thought there was an uptick in people sending you letters saying, good job, good job, good job. Can they get on the Google reviews and like Google review it? Because I don't think we've got a high star rating. That'd be good.
yeah. We can encourage people to go onto that.
Yeah.
Restaurant on Yelp.
Right, exactly.
Just
It's actually, as I was contemplating this job, and was about to start, that's one of the things I did, is I looked at the Google reviews to see what do people think about us, and it's not, some of them are not good. but there's not very many. There's a handful, but.
And people are more inclined to say negative stuff and put it because they're mad, so they'll take the time to go put it online. And so if a new resident's coming in and they Google it and they're like, hey, that's not a very good rating. So they're not seeing all the letters coming and saying good job and kudos. Because people just Google. So maybe add that in a newsletter, like leave us a good review.
Oh, we have.
Ready to move on to the next one? Sure. David, you were talking about number 19,
Yeah.
new training.
Yeah, so, we really with this condition assessment, it's a cultural change, right? It's a way of looking at the business we haven't done before. And what I ran across was a course in Dallas, 6 to 8 November. And the interesting thing about this course is if you flip to the second page and look at the 3 people who are teaching it, the 2 bottom guys are the guys who wrote this article that we've been studying. So I thought that was very timely. And then the lady here, she was the chairman of the assessment committee at AWWA. And she was basically one of the authors of M77, which is the condition-based system book. So I'll be honest with you, I'd like to go to that class, and I'm hoping you guys give me the nod. And it's I'd love to go, and I'll bring back and represent us well once I finish that. I think we'll make use of it, not just at WWA, but also at the SJRA as we deal with them. So I encourage other people to go, be honest with you. I think we have a knowledge base that we need to build. And that's, to me, that's important going forward. It's in Dallas, it's not in Seattle or someplace like that. So it's an easy access, so.
It's just a water infrastructure conference where there was a whole section and segment on AC pipe and condition assessment. And that was in Pittsburgh last week. So I did see this come across. I'm in AWWA. And so I think any additional information that you want to gain, you're going to go, I think is valuable insight.
Eric and I are gonna go.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think it's a good trip, close by. Minimal cost, really no different than if we went to the Mud Directors Convention, another day. It's basically 2 days, 3 days.
It's 2.5 full days of seminar.
Don't scare him.
Yeah.
But it's not all just on AC pipe.
Yes.
Yes,
This
it
one.
is. Well, it's on condition assessment, which it can have other pipes, but
Looks
Yeah.
like they're gonna go pretty heavily through M77,
yeah.
what I can tell.
Everybody okay with that? Is that,
Yes.
It's a cost of, are you a member?
what's that? No, but I would recommend that I join and then, use this to join as a member and get the discount. So I think it's about $250. Yeah, $300 a year versus $100. So either way, the interesting about AWWA is that they have their firewall up, and so that you can read about all the things they have, but unless you remember, you're sort of restricted. So
I'm on national committees with AWW. So at the end of October, I'll be in Denver at their summit.
okay,
They have a summit every year in October. So I'll be there.
so I don't know if I need a motion or just nods of head, you guys.
Rooms, just so you know, the rooms are about $195.
And yeah, I looked.
That's the cheapest.
Motel 6.
Yeah.
Think you need a motion, do you?
If the board supports it, it'll just show up on a future attendance expense for consent agenda. But yeah, I mean, Dave would certainly want to know if the board's not supportive.
Yeah.
And have that rejected after the fact.
Yeah. Okay, David.
Okay.
Do you want to do the trustees report?
I guess to me, the big item that came out of the trustees meeting was the decision by the SJRA to move toward adopting condition-based testing. And obviously, we've been discussing that extensively, and I was very happy that they moved in that direction. And I think we'll all learn something from that. process and feel more comfortable with future expenditures. So I think that was the big item. And I think, they took a consensus vote, and I think 2 months were not inclined, 8 were. So hopefully that follows through, in some form.
They make a statement as to why they weren't inclined,
Just do it.
or did they just want
One
to?
was Metro Mud and the other one was mud.
There's some significant concern that delaying, if particularly the town center is gonna put, that mud in jeopardy of all the tax value, the 3.2 billion in tax value in that area. If they start having blown lines left and right. That's one of the main concerns.
Just to reiterate, we haven't had like blowing lines in that area, like.
This has the most.
Okay,
breaks,
it has
sure,
the most
yeah.
rate. Okay.
That one's part of it.
Yeah.
But that one, it's interesting looking at that piece of pipe. You don't see a lot of damage on the inside. There's no corrosion there.
And that's,
It's
Chris
what it-
mentioned that, it's gonna be part of the concern of condition based is, if you evaluate the condition of the pipe itself, it may say that it isn't deteriorated. That has nothing to do with how that one broke, for instance.
Right.
That one broke because of the
I
exterior.
understand that, but you'd expect,
That's gonna be tricky.
yeah, you have to have a good test.
So if you look at Town Center, there were 11 breaks, 5 calls by contractors over the past 20 years. So if you look at that, that's about a 9 breaks per 100 miles, which, when you take out the contractor number. And there's a, I don't know if you guys can look at this in this packet, it's in here, in the back, you can see the table.
Put in your packet today, it's online though.
It's online. But they have it broken down, but really, there's no doubt Town Center's the highest, but when you look at the table she has at the bottom of that, you take out the contractor damage lines, what about a 9?
So almost half were contractor cost.
Right, almost half.
And how do we charge them? Do we charge them our cost or?
It depends on the circumstance. That's a longer discussion for another day, to be honest, but essentially it depends on the circumstances. If we mark a line, if we didn't mark a line, how they hit it, if we have a representative on site. We've discussed with legal multiple times, and to date, we've only charged back 2 on our side and neither have paid. Now, Woodlands Water, the most have had a lot better response through tax as of lately, getting money back from them.
Well, in previous conversations in the past year that Dave and I've been here, generally it's pass-through cost. And I have objections to that because it costs you time, effort, and money. It should be fully burdened. And I'll defer to the accountants and the financial people, both at your organization at WWA, to make that assessment. But passing through cost and then having to collect is a futile way of dealing with vendors. They should be penalized and not allowed to participate in future work. But at the very minimum, we should charge them a fully burdened cost.
These are generally folks we aren't under contract with.
Yeah, contract does.
These are just public.
So the type of vendors, I mean, TAC is, give me some.
TACus, AT&T, anybody who has any dry utility and sometimes wet utilities, gas companies.
Yes. So those are big companies.
Because the lines are right.
Big companies, but the contractors were
So they bang your line. You can go after them.
So who's
I wish it weren't the case. Now, if it were our contractor,
it is the,
we're under contract.
maybe
to do something else.
it's 18, but is the overhead corporation responsible for something like that?
Conversations that shouldn't.
Depends on the arrangement. I mean, that gets into,
payment.
that's secretary and, that depends on the arrangement, what they have. Goes into it.
So we have no say about the type of relationship we expect.
Well, I mean, we have facilities there, if it's a public utility, but they've got the right to go for other public utilities, but they're supposed to contact us to be able to go and mark our line. If they don't, then you gotta go chase them like we have to do with TACus. And then, if it's one of these small entities that's acting as an independent, you're squeezing it.
Well,
It's not a lot there.
and even identification of our lines is difficult because when you see the identifier guys out there, our lines aren't stripped, with identifiers.
I just had a fence put up, so I understand.
Okay, we're not gonna adjourn to closed session.
Correct.
Anybody have any things you want to add to next month's agenda?
Yes. Last meeting, when we went upstairs, I brought up the concern that I had about under a SWOT analysis that we have not necessarily assessed the potential threat of financial issues affecting SJRA and what the impact would be to MUD 46. And do you recall that, Brian? Yeah, I think that needs to be discussed. We just can't assume nothing will happen. We have to at least have something on the shelf that if, in my opinion, that if there is an issue that affects the SGRA, if they get a cold, we get real sick. And I don't see any proactive discussion or conversation, and I think it's needed. And I think the best way of doing that is either set up a time outside of a board meeting or conduct it right after one of our board meetings to kind of frame out what the situation is factually, what our situation is as it relates to the legalities and the potential collections, and how we're going to deal with the potential reimbursement or distribution of those monies that have been collected. It's all part of the overall SWOT analysis that, frankly, I think every organization should do, which is strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat. So how would you like to present that?
You have a summary statement of that agenda item for Shelley?
I can certainly get it by tomorrow.
That would help. So I'm not sure. That would
Okay, I'll
get that
get that to show.
worded. Yeah, we'll get it worded properly.
Yeah,
I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Again.
Favor.
Aye.
I